Hello, Rocky Mountain Prep. I am here at Creekside, which I've heard referred to as the best side. And I'm with two incredible educators, and I'm going to have them introduce themselves first.
Hi, I'm Grace. I'm the 3rd through 5th API here at Creekside, and this is my 2nd year.
Hi, I'm Becca Spresser, and I'm a 5th grade all-black teacher, and this is my 8th year with Rocky Mountain Prep.
That is amazing. Have you done all 8 years here at Creekside?
I started at Creekside and then went to Fletcher for 4 and then just came back this year.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I just found that out. And I'm Trisha, CEO here at Rocky Mountain Prep. And listen, I had to come to Creekside because for my weekly video update because I had this amazing experience when I was here last week. As I was in 3rd through 5th grade classrooms, I noticed every single scholar had a book. They were excited about their book because they were telling me about it. And every single teacher was prepared to teach. So I saw data in every single classroom, and it was just like on fire with learning buzz. So I had to talk to you, Grace, as the coach, to better understand what you have been doing here at Creekside and the work you've been doing with your teachers to elicit such amazing classroom results. So can you walk us through how did you set up the year and what are the things that you're doing right now to make sure your teachers can really shine every single day?
Yeah, we did a lot of our work in base camp and thinking thoughtfully about our teacher development this year. We knew that scholars needed to read in order to get them to where they needed to be. So we led a really thoughtful independent reading PD at the beginning of the year. And then that led to all teachers really being invested in making sure there's a book in every scholar's hand and that we have intentional independent reading blocks built in. So scholars know when they're going to be independent reading, teachers know when they're independent reading. In terms of intellectual prep, my teachers know just reading a plan is just the floor, and that's not good enough for our kids. So they always have grade level meetings where they're triangulating data into informing their IPP process, and they know they should always have their plan annotated in scholar exemplars on their clipboard when they're in front of kids. Because we know we can't always memorize everything in a lesson plan. And in terms of data, we got our CMAS data and that really lit a fire under us, and we've been using that to inform every decision we've been doing at Creekside.
That's amazing. So I love how you say the data lit a fire, because I'm sure many of you are having this experience. I had it as a teacher and as a principal where I got the data, I was like, this isn't what I want, and the instinct is to like shove it in the filing cabinet and move on with your life. So how did you make sense of the data and how did you help teachers make sense of that data?
So the timing was actually perfect. We just finished STAR right when CMAS data came out. So we had a meeting, a PD, where we used CMAS data, we used STAR data, and we've already made lists of scholars of exactly where they are and where we need to push them to
I
be.
love that. Yeah, so that sounds like a lot of work. How long did that take you all?
It was a 30-minute PD.
Wow. So I think a lot of times when we think about like creating groups and data, we think of like 16-hour mega sessions. And I love what you just illustrated, that with a little bit of effort and organization, it actually has a huge yield. So I want to shift over to you, Becca. So tell everyone what you teach. And I would love to hear more about how you're seeing kids really respond to both this curriculum and this idea that every child has a book in their hands that they love.
So I teach the all block, so the additional language and literacy block, which really complements the whole group module, block, and lesson. There's a couple of things that I was thinking about when I started rolling out the curriculum is one, if kids are not excited and interested in reading, they're not going to grow in the way that they want to, and they're not going to be able to find and have the access to the text that we want them to be in order to be successful. So I really started with how can I cultivate a love of learning in this classroom where I'm not holding the power in the room. And All Block as a curriculum is set up really nicely to do that. They have built-in text shares where kids get to read and then have a full 10-minute block to talk about what they're reading and present it to their peers. that was one of the first things that got them excited to read and really share what they're reading and hear about what others are reading. Based on that, I also started something called First Chapter Friday, where I preview a book that's already in our library and we together read the first chapter of the book. And when I finish that, so many kids are like, no, keep going, or I want to check it out. And there's a huge line to check out the book because they had the experience to share it together.
That's right.
And so I, as a reader, am always thinking, what did you just read? What did you just read? And asking for my friends. And in our PD at Base Camp, we really talked about honoring time where kids can share about their texts. And so those were things that I really made sure happened from day one, that kids had an opportunity to talk about what they're reading and to share a reading experience together. So we've done that with our research reading texts and our choice texts to make sure that kids are genuinely excited and grabbing for their books. I have to give reminders that kids like, we're not reading yet. Please wait till we get to our centers. But they really are so excited because they know what's in their library. I've read what's in their library and can talk to them about it. And many of their classmates have now read it too, so they can have rich on-topic discussions about books.
Becca, you said so much that I want to live for the Rocky Mountain Prep team and family. So what I heard you say is like, one, you're a reader yourself. So you're reading a lot of those books. So if I'm a scholar and I'm like, I don't know what to read, you can actually recommend me something because you're reading that too, which is something honestly we should all be doing. Two is I love that you are building the excitement and anticipation for reading by that first chapter Friday, which I'm totally stealing that from my own kids. And that also exposes our kids maybe to different texts that they wouldn't, normally pick up and read. So incredible. What have you been noticing about your kids' attitudes, your scholars' attitudes towards reading? What shifts have you seen in these first 5 weeks?
So with All Black for the independent reading and partner fluency or buddy reading, we shift between choice texts, which is any book that they want to read, fiction or nonfiction, to research texts, which are texts that are on topic or support their module learning. So in 5th grade, we're having a unit on human rights. So their research week is all texts about human rights. When we first did our research read, they were like, oh, I want to read my choice book. Does it have to be research? I'm in this one. And so it was a little challenging. I saw them shift, excited about their choice books, but not super excited about having to read a book that now I've chosen the topic. But with those same practices of letting them read with a buddy, letting them share about the text that they're reading, even if it's a research human rights text, and doing those first chapter Fridays with the research books, they've started to be like, oh, okay, that's cool, that's exciting, and make those connections to have really vibrant discussions about now human rights and different articles from the UDHR, which has been really cool. To see that excitement even in a reading topic that maybe they weren't enthused about on Tuesday of this week, now on Thursday.
I love that. And, my oldest daughter's in 5th grade, and so I actually saw her doing some of her reading and talking about the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And I thought, I wonder if 5th graders really understand this. But I was really blown away with how much connection even my own daughter, but really all scholars have to these really universal ideas that I think we can all agree are more important than ever in our world right now. So what advice, so you're talking to everyone in the RMP universe, no pressure. And there's a lot of teachers out there for whom they're like, oh, my kids hate reading. They don't want to pick up a book. They're not responding to this. And maybe they're a little bit skeptical about All Black, our approach. So what advice, what coaching would you give them?
I would say, first, think, do you love the text in your classroom? Do you know what texts are in your classroom? That goes for the research text and the choice texts. I've read the backs of books and let kids do a movement choice around the room, reading option 1 or option 2, move to this wall if you want to read this wall if you want to read this book, and then we read one together. So they get to hear and preview a text, and we get to share it together. I think it's really important that you as a teacher are excited about the book too, because they're feeding off of your energy and sharing that experience with you. So first, I would think about what books are in your library, do they excite you? And if not, what books do, and how can you highlight those in your classroom to make sure that every kid has an opportunity to find a book that lights a fire or a spark for them, because they're there. They definitely have them. So check out what's in your library. Maybe start first chapter Friday. It only takes 15 minutes to preview one chapter. You can also find an audiobook and have that happen, but they get really excited about the start of the text and want to see where the story finishes. So even if that gets them excited about one book, that's one book in your library that you've shared with them.
I love that, Becca. And can people email you if they have any questions about how you do it?
Absolutely. I would love that. My email is bspresser, SPRESSER, at RockyMountainPrep.org. But I would love to thought partner and hear your ideas too about how the love of reading is happening in your classrooms.
I love it. See, I love doing these weekly updates every week as I discover all these gems, and all of you get to hear about it too, right? Because I think if I reflect back to being both a leader and a teacher, one of the hardest things is feeling isolated and lonely and encountering problems and you're not sure how to even solve them. And what I've really witnessed here at Creekside is excellence at the highest bar. And so you have a wonderful resource in Grace if you have questions about how to use the data, how to make sense of it, how to start moving with the data, and how to really support teachers all across the continuum in terms of experience to be successful, because Grace is doing just that. And you can reach out to Becca if you're like, I don't know anything about kids books and I don't know how to get kids excited about them, because Becca is doing the darn thing. Classroom is amazing, and just seeing kids really excited and owning their own reading and learning is just so gratifying. So please, you're not on an island. Don't hesitate to reach out. And if you take away nothing else from this update, is the power of really purposefully using data to help in your preparation to make sure we're meeting the needs of every child, that we're building not just a love of achievement, but a love of reading, and how that is going to impact our scholars for the rest of their lives. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic day.